So today we're going to learn how to solve simple one-step equations where the only operation that you are working to undo in order to isolate the variable are addition and subtraction. So again, we're going to learn how to solve equations, and we're going to be using two properties to do this. We're going to be using the subtraction property of equality and the addition property of equality. Okay, so let's start with these properties. The subtraction property of equality states that two sides of an equation remain equal when you subtract the same number from each side. So if we have that a equals b and I subtract c from each side, I'm going to get the same value. Or in other words, if I want to think of a number example, so if I want to think of numbers, I know that 7 equals 7, and if I subtract 3 from each side, I still have a true statement, 4 equals 4. So no matter how I slice and dice this, what's on the left will always be equal to what's on the right. Okay? Now we have another property, the addition property of equality, which is the same kind of thing, and it states that the two sides of an equation remain equal when you add the same number to each side. So again, if a equals b and you add c to each side, then a plus c will equal to b plus c. So one more time, if I have 5 equals 5, and I add 2 to each side, well, this side is going to be the same as this because I'm going to have 7 equals 7. Okay? So let's try some examples. So where this becomes useful is when I'm trying to solve an equation. So for example, if I want to solve x plus 6 equals 4, and then obviously we're going to want to check our solution. I'm actually going to draw a line down there so that I remember that I want to check my solution. Anytime I'm solving an equation, my goal is to get to the point where I have a variable by itself equal to some number, or reflexively that number is equal to that variable. So it doesn't matter what side the variable is on as long as my final statement is variable equals a number or a number equals a variable. Okay? So in this case, let me just move that for you guys. So in this case, I'll move that over there for now. So in this case, I have x plus 6 equals 4. Now, you'll hear lots of math teachers use the term undo. So we know that addition and subtraction are inverse operations, meaning they're opposite of one another. So subtraction undoes addition, and addition undoes subtraction. So what we mean by that is I want to do something to undo this plus 6 here. So if I want to undo this plus 6 here, I can subtract 6 from each side. I know that 6 minus 6 will be 0, so I'll have x plus 0 is equal to, well, 4 minus 6 is negative 2. And I know that anything plus 0 is itself. So I have my variable isolated by itself, and I know that I have variable equals number, and that number is negative 2, so my final answer is x equals negative 2. So then I go to check my solution. To check my solution, I'm going to go back to my original equation, x plus 6 equals 4, and I'm going to plug that negative 2 in and see if it makes a true statement. So negative 2 plus 6, that's 4. 4 equals 4, so that checks out. So I know my answer is correct. Okay? So as we do these problems, I'm not going to recheck all of them, but it's a good idea when you do your problems to double check them. Alright, so let's go to the next example. 14 plus y equals 20. I'm going to rewrite this out here. 14 plus y equals 20. Now because the 14 is positive, and it is being added to y, I'm going to need to undo it, and again I'm going to use that subtraction property of equality that states that I can subtract the same value from each side and it'll keep the statement true. So when I subtract 14 from each side, I know 14 minus 14 is 0, and I know 20 minus 14 is 6, so I know that y is equal to 6. Now some of you will get to the point where you'll show this step and you can jump straight to that step, and that's fine with me. So to check our work, I know it's 14 plus y equals 20. 14 plus 6, yep, that's 20. That checks out, so we are good to go. Okay? Now, let's try a couple more with the addition. Again, I would recommend that you pause the video and try these two before unpausing and moving on. So, b plus 8 equals -5. You're going to need to remember your sign rules here. So since I'm adding an 8, to undo that or to isolate, I'm going to use the subtraction property of equality, which states that I can subtract 8 from each side. I know on the right side, I'll have b plus 0. On this side here, on the left side, -5 minus 8. If I keep, change, that's -5 plus -8, which is -13. So I know my final answer is -13 equals b. And you can plug that in to double check it. Okay? Let's go to the next one. In this case, I have a +4 being added to c. So I'm going to subtract 4 from each side. And now you can get to the point where if you know that those two are going to be 0, they're going to cancel out. So on the right side, I have just c, because those cancel out to become 0, and I know that 0 plus c is just c. -12 minus 4, that's -16. So you have to be super careful about your sign rules. All right, let's try a couple more examples. All right, these deal with subtraction. If I have x minus 2 equals 1, how do I undo minus? I'm going to use the addition property of equality to add 2 to each side. I know that -2 plus +2 is 0, so that gives me x plus 0, and then 1 plus 2 is 3, or just x equals 3. And again, if I check my answer, I put the 3 in, I get that 1 is surely equal to 1, so this checks out. Okay? All right, let's try another one. This will be our last example before we get to the problem of the day. Z minus 8 is equal to 12, or 12 is equal to Z minus 8. You can read it either way. So since 8 is being subtracted from Z, I'm going to use the addition property of equality to add 8 to each side. These guys will cancel out, so I'll have 20 is equal to Z. Final answer. All right, so this is what one-step equations is all about. Tomorrow night, whenever you learn your next lesson, you will be learning how to do multiplication and division equations. And then the day after that, we'll pick up all the word problems, so we'll have a separate lesson for how to do word problems, how to set up equations based on word problem situations. So, your problem of the day, you're given 4 equations. The one equation that I'm going to tell you may be a challenge is number 2. We didn't do anything like this in the video. Everything else was very similar. And the hint that I will give you is, while you may see addition here, this 5 is negative. Let me get rid of those. This 5 is negative. So if you subtract 5 from each side, you have to think -5 plus -5. Is that going to be 0 or not? So think about that when you do this problem, and be careful that you don't isolate your variable incorrect. We'll go over this one together. This will be one that I'll do in class tomorrow, but I'll be looking for volunteers to put these 3 up. All right, have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.